Attention that you don't even understand the significance of being the facilitator over being the face. Because there's some folk who you know their face and don't even know they ain't even got nothing. They famous, but they broke. Y'all, okay, let me go back because y'all I don't know about you, but I don't want to be popular and broke, y'all. Oh, okay. Look at your neighbor. Tell him you can't be popular and broke. I'd rather have money and don't nobody know my name than for everybody to know my face and I'm living in an apartment that somebody else owns. Okay. David understood that, okay, I'm no longer the face of it, but I am the facilitator. David understood that what God was doing, watch this, Majet, was bigger than his administration. David understood that what God was doing was bigger than his generation. And David understood his role in the will of God. Talking, I need y'all to say it. He left grace to be out front or grace to lead from behind. Y'all understand that both are significant and neither can succeed without the other. And I heard the Lord say, write this down. Write this down. I heard the Lord say, write this down. Write this down, Shante. I heard the Lord say, I don't just want you to be successful. I want you to be significant. Because there's some people who they were successful last year. John, you can't find them this year. Because God says, I don't just want you to be successful. Are y'all still here? No, he said, I want you to be significant. Watch this. Write this down. Write this down. Freeman, write this down, Steph. The telltale sign of significance is when what you're doing, write this down, Pastor Sonny. Oh, well, I know you writing it down. The telltale sign of significance, of true significance, is when what you're doing is no longer about you. Brown, did you hear me? The telltale sign of true significance is when what you're doing is about the people who are around you and about the people who are coming after you. So my assignment this year is to encourage you to encourage the saints to continue to go forward, not to scale back or shrink back, but not to scale down, but to go after all of it. Will you do me a favor, Marvella? Will you grab somebody's name in the thread? Tell jobbers, don't scale down, don't shrink back. Go after Marcy. I see you, baby. God said, go after all of it. Go after all. Y'all not listening to me. God told me to tell you to go after all of it. Watch this. And expect the size of your goal to reflect the size of your God. God said you need to expect the size of your goal to reflect the size of your God. Watch this. He said, and expect people who don't even know you to come help you. Y'all got to hear me in the Holy Ghost today. That's what's happening in today's text. The first generation is encouraging and exhorting the next generation. Watch it. The first generation, David, is encouraging and exhorting the next generation, Solomon. He's encouraging and exhorting Solomon. Why? Because the expectation, Grimsley, is that this year you wouldn't just be blessed, but that you would be bold. Oh my God, Quatina, look at somebody and tell them, be bold. Be bold. You call yourself being humble. That's not humility, that's fear. God said, be bold. Yo, who am I preaching to? Shay, am I talking to you? That's not humility. That's not no. That's not you being content. That's you being afraid that if it's too big, it won't work. Y'all, God said, I need you to say it with some strength. Be bold. Be bold. Go verse 20 says David continued, listen at the language, Brown. He continued talking to Solomon. This Pastor Adrian, this wasn't a one-off. This wasn't just some conversation, Juliet, that happened in passing. David understood that if I'm going to encourage the next generation, David understood if what's on me is going to get on them, I gotta keep talking to them. Yo, who am I preaching to this morning? You so sick of saying the same thing to the same people. God says if there's going to be a transfer of what's on you, if it's going to get on them, you got to keep talking to them. Oh my God. I came to encourage people who said, if I got to say it one more time, y'all, some of y'all 2 seconds away from swinging. Because you like, by this time, I feel disrespected. Because I said the same thing to you 3, 4, 5 times. No. You have to understand the responsibility of the first generation is to keep talking to the next generation until they get it. Y'all, God, I didn't preach to myself, and this ain't even in my notes. David continued addressing Solomon. He kept talking to him, Casey. Obviously he didn't get it the first time. Obviously, Sonny, he didn't get it the second time. He had to keep talking to Solomon until Solomon got it. What did he say? Take charge. What did he say? He said, take heart. In other words, Solomon was sitting around because he knew who his daddy was. Solomon was sitting around being timid. No, David said, timidity is not the spirit of the season. I need you to take charge. I need you to take heart. Watch this. And don't be anxious and don't get discouraged. I ain't trying to be deep. I'm just reading the text. Don't be anxious and don't get discouraged. Lexi, will you put that in the thread for me, please? Don't be anxious and don't talk to yourself. Don't be anxious and y'all not talking. Talk to yourself. Don't be anxious and don't get discouraged. David represents the first generation of generals. Let me get out of this. He's still communicating and he's still connected to the next generation of generals. Who in this text is represented by Solomon. David is pushing him. David is passing the baton because he understands we got to get over this partisanship. David is passing the baton to Solomon, saying to Solomon, what I was unable to do in my generation, you're going to be able to do in your generation. So in your generation, Solomon, you're going to have the first African-American vice president. You're going to get over this hurdle of sexism and racism. Y'all, can I get somebody to jump up and tell the devil, I'm about to get over it, y'all? My generation is going to get over it. This classism and sexism and racism and partisanship. You got some hurdles that you got to cross. Go on, call it out. But whatever your hurdle has been, God, there's a grace that's being passed to you from the first generation of generals. And while I was writing this down, Pastor Adrian, this is what I heard. The same way that David was passing a grace or passing the baton and imparting a grace to Solomon, it is the same way that John Lewis passed the baton to John Ossoff. Yo, I saw this today while I was praying. It's the same grace that Dr. Dr. King has now passed to Dr. Warnock. You got a John passing it to John, and you got a Dr. Pastor of Ebenezer passing it to the next. Y'all better hear me. There's some stuff we got to run off. There's some stuff we got to do so that what they couldn't do in the last generation, we get it done in our generation. I came to tell somebody today we are not done. I came to tell somebody today we are not finished. I know you can buy you a place in Buckhead now, but we ain't done. I know you can shop at Lenox now. I know you can go up on the mountain, that Stone Mountain, when 30 years ago you would have almost got lynched, but now you can go up on the mountain and walk around the mountain and walk up and down the mountain. But God said to tell you, we are not finished. Well, watch this. As good as it's been is not as good as it's going to get. Y'all, somebody put that on screen. Brittany Harvey, I'm talking to you, baby. As good as it's been is not as good as it's going to get. God said, no. Y'all ain't got it yet. God said, no. Bigger. When y'all hear me say, God say, no. No. When y'all hear me say, God say, no, you're supposed to shout out. I need somebody to put it, Yolanda, I'm talking to you. God said, no. There you go. Bigger. He said, what I have planned for you is exceedingly. It's abundantly. I know this hard for some of y'all to wrap your minds around, because some of y'all like, well, I'm going to wait and see the efficacy of the vaccination. God said, I orchestrated this. So while everybody else is bound by the spirit of fear, that you have a freedom to move forward because you understand that what God has for you in this season is bigger. He said it's exceedingly abundantly above all that you have ever asked for or thought about. But if you're going to walk out my plan for your life, it's going to require another level of holy boldness. God told me to tell you to be bold. Say it, somebody, be bold. That's the command. That's the requirement. That's the standard now. That's the only way that we're going to see God's will come to pass in our lifetime, is if we take what people who don't know God would call a risk. The command is to take charge, take heart, and refuse to be anxious for anything, and not to allow the delays and the detours to discourage you. Watch this. The command is to confidently and courageously take risks. Okay, y'all deal in the what ifs too much. Well, what if it don't work? Well, what if they don't receive me? Well, what if I mess up? Y'all, no, God said the command in this season is to be bold. It's to be unafraid, to be fearless, to be brave, to be decisive, to be positive. And in the eyes of those who don't understand what it means to walk by faith, to be somewhat of a daredevil, to be rash and reckless. I'm talking to people in this season. God is going to lead you to do some stuff that people who don't understand faith is going to look at you and say, you a fool. But watch this. God says, I want you to be decisive. I want you to be decisive and positive. Y'all got to write this down. I want you to be fearless and unafraid. I want you to be brave. I want you to be somewhat of a daredevil. It is still my conviction, jobbers, that the just shall live by faith. And what that means is that many of you really haven't lived because you're unwilling to look like a fool in the eyes of people whose approval you never even needed. God, help me here today. Help me here today. I say to you again, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, y'all ought to know this. And the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension and understanding, will guard your heart and your mind. God said, be bold and believe. I'm out of time. Look at somebody and say, be bold and believe. I'm still at verse 20. So put that, Bartel, put that on the screen for me, Ebony. Be bold and believe. Say it again. Be bold, Serena, and believe. Say it again. Be bold and believe. What's the worst that could happen? You already know how to survive an eviction. What's the worst that can happen? You already know how to get around Atlanta without a car. What's the worst that can happen? You already know what it's like to be alone in your house. Y'all don't like this. Look at somebody say, be bold and believe. But that's easy for you to say, no, it's not. Because the same grace that's on my life is the same grace that's on your life. That's all David was saying to Solomon. Look at verse 20. He says, my God, he says, God, my God is in this with you. Okay. My God is with you in this. Watch this. He won't walk away. He won't leave you in the lurch. He's at your side until every last detail is complete. Look at somebody and say, be bold and believe. You have to believe that God is with you in this. Are y'all still here? You have to believe, y'all, that God is with you in this. This is what allows you to be bold and to continue to believe. It's the fact that whatever happens, you know that God is with you in it. And because God is with you in it, it's got to work together for your good. God was with you when you started, and God's going to be with you until you finish. I just came to encourage you and exhort you. God was with you when you started, and God's going to be with you when you fit. The promise is he won't walk off and leave you, but he will be right there at your side until every last detail is completed. I need somebody to talk to yourself and tell yourself, God will be right there with me until, I'm talking to you, Jarita, until every last detail is completed. But you have to make a conscious decision, Majek, to continue to believe, even in the face of what seems to be too much, even in the face of what seems to be too big for you and your circle. Write this down. I've been saying this for the last 24 hours. If it's big enough for your circle, it's too small for you. Write that down. Andrea, write that down. If it's big enough for my circle, if I can get it done with my homies, it's too small for me. This is what God said. He said the grace of God on your life requires more. It requires that you plan bigger. It demands that you plan something God-sized, something that cannot be accomplished without divine intervention. You got to plan something that requires the intervention of God. Look at somebody and say, no, bigger. Your homeboy can give you that money. Bigger. You know somebody at that company, your frat can get you hired over there. No. Bigger. Watch this. If what you're planning is big enough for your circle, it's too small for the grace of God that's been entrusted to your life. So be bold. Do me a favor. Do me a favor. Talk to yourself, Deanna. Tell yourself, I will not waste the grace of God on my life pursuing something. Life pursuing something that does not quite require. And in the face of your enemy, believe. Because whatever your plans were, whatever your plans were, Rabo, Yande, yes, Lord, whatever your plans were, God is about to increase them. God's about to make your plans match his plan in scale and in scope. I got to close. God said, be bold. I had 2 points, but God gave me something at the end. God said, be bold. What's the next one? Put it on the screen for me, Stacy. Be bold. Shanita, put it on the screen, baby. Be bold. Believe. Here's the last one. Here's the last one. Pastor Sonny, are you writing this down? Be bold. Believe. Watch this. This is for people who had a Holy Ghost but don't know how to treat people. God said, be bold, Carson, believe. Then he said, be nice. Because some of you, there are people around you who would have helped you, but your attitude was too nasty. People around you who would have helped you, but you were too arrogant. People around you who had what you needed, but never came forward with it because you act like you had it all together. God said, be bold, believe, and be nice, because help is on the way. I'm closing right there, Daniel. Help is on the way. Look at somebody and say, help is on the way. God told me to tell you, I'm sending strangers to remove the stress and the strain of doing what you've been called to do. Look at somebody and tell them God's about to send a stranger to remove the stress and the strain of what it is you've been called to do. God's sending people who don't even really know you like that, Carson, to help you. You can't have it if you won't say it. God's sending people who have everything you need to do what God called you to do. And all you got to do is be nice. Because don't be proud, be nice. Because some of them, you ain't even going to know them like that, but God's going to send them to get rid of the stress and the strain. I'm closing, Grimsley. First Chronicles 28:21. Put it on the screen, please, if you can, in the Message Bible. First Chronicles 28:21. First Chronicles 28:21. First Chronicles 28:21. Y'all missed it. Y'all missed it. First Chronicles 28:21. He says, you have all the priests and the Levites standing ready to pitch in. Somebody say, help is on the way. Help is on the way. Take the atmosphere, son. Come on, say it. Help is on the way. Help is on the way. You have priests and Levites standing ready to pitch in. Watch this. Listen. Listen. Stop talking yourself out of God's will for your life. Well, I don't have this and I don't have nobody to help me. I'm in this city by myself. I should just go back home. At least I had somebody at home who I knew who would help me. God said, I'm sending strangers. He said, watch this. The priests and Levites are standing ready to pitch in. And skillful craftsmen. Let me just throw your hands up and receive this. Throw your hands up and receive this. God's going to send you people who know what to do. I receive that. I receive that. God's going to send people that I don't have to walk by the hand and tell them every little thing to do. God's going to send people who are skillful. Say it. God's sending people who are skillful. Artisans. Watch this. Artisans of every kind of work. Listen to me. As the prophetic and apostolic voice that is assigned to your life. You watch this stream every week. You've been in this building pre-COVID and you thought the ministry of this church is incredible. Well, God said this ain't it. That there's something bigger that God is calling us to. But watch this. We cannot do it without those of you who are connected, but you feel like strangers. Some of you joined this church during COVID. You've never been in this building, but you know that you are connected. God told me to call forth every skillful craftsman and every artisan. God said, I'm going to send you people who are prepared to do every kind of work. I need people on cameras. I need people on sound. I need people on the video board, the lighting board. I need graphic designers and marketing gurus. I need people who understand, wait a minute, God has given me a gift, and it's all for the purpose of building the temple. I call you out of hiding. I call you out of dark. And for every one of you who tried to get connected and somebody offended you and you walked away, I call you out of that place of immaturity. And I call you back into the service of the Lord Jesus. You are too gifted and anointed for all of the grace on your life to go to the heathen. You are too gifted